What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kemple with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. I'm super pumped. We have a guest joining us all the way from Tokyo. She is an amazing female entrepreneur, an international speaker, and a Japanese author. Please welcome Natsune Oki. Natsune, thank you for joining us today. Can you please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about your background?
Yes, thank you very much for having me today. I am so happy to be here today. So my name is Natsune Oki. I'm a speaker at Life Up Education TV, and I also have a book called The Game of Self-Domination. It looks like this.
Love it.
And I also run a business agency in Tokyo called Foreign Connect that helps businesses in Japan and America to launch and expand their businesses either in America or in Japan. And those are the three major things that I do right now.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about this book. I really love the title, and I think that it, like with what our world has gone through in the last year or so, it really is kind of important for books like that to be making its way into the general public. So tell us your motivation and inspiration behind it, and how you want it to help your clients that would buy it.
Yeah. So for me, I never really thought like one day I'm gonna be author. Like that was never my intention or aspiration necessarily. For me, driving with like this business practical, like, strategy person, I understood that people, my audience, would learn things in different forms. So I just had business wise, I had to be in every platform as much as I can, right? So one way would be just a video, another way would be audio, another way would be book, right? So for me, the idea I'm standing behind Life Up Education TV is what I am like rooting for, really,
Sure.
Which is to talk about, I often describe the purpose of my channel, Life Up Education TV, as a channel that talks about maximizing the potential or maximizing the possibility of humanity. That's how I say it. And the reason I say humanity is because I'm really like a macro thinker. So I get really excited about creating maximum output as a humanity.
Sure.
And then really like being able to see how far we can take our ability as a humanity to the future. Like that's what I'm most excited about. And Life Up Education TV covers that. And how we cover it because I came to the realization that in order for us to achieve at the maximum level at the macro perspective, then we have to start work from individuals, right? Like we have to work with individual being able to maximize their output. So together we can create bigger output.
Sure.
So that's where my book comes in. In this book, we will talk about how we can work together to maximize your output. And specifically, I talk about how someone can create mental transformation in 3 different phases.
Okay.
Because for someone to maximize their output, a lot of it also comes from just willingness and inspiration and fulfillment. Like these things really contribute to your productivity. So in this book, we talk about that. So first phase we talk about is, in order for someone to have that fulfillment, we all need something to strive for. We all need a dream or inspiration that drives us. And progress is happiness, and that's why we want to have like the transformation journey at all the time, right? Okay. If you achieve something, you always want to create a new goal. So my intention with this book is to talk about how we can like break it down to practical steps.
Okay.
Into like in this like transformation journey. So the first phase we talk about is how someone can create dream. And I feel like I'm speaking a lot. Do you have any questions so far?
No, I love it. I'm following you completely, because I totally agree with you. For me, I'm very goal oriented. And once I achieve that goal, I have to have a new goal to keep moving forward. And like you said, fulfillment. And I never looked at it like that, but yeah, that's what has actually helped me achieve, like, self-esteem, self-confidence, and know that I'm capable. And I think a lot of people don't know how to, they don't know that that's part of the journey on reaching fulfillment and happiness.
Yeah. So yes, exactly. And I agree with you. And then, so that's why I think it's very important for someone to have a dream, like emotion that is so crazily strong enough for someone to keep persevere when they meet hardships and rejections and failures. Because like you said, those fulfillments cannot come out of easy journey.
Right.
Like it's gonna be always hard. Like good things are always hard, right?
Yes. Oh,
So
yeah.
so that's why the first phase is very important. We talk about like what is your dream, like let's ignore all the voices we have that was put in from the societal like pressure of like, you know, what it should be, right, what the success should look like and everything. We'll just get rid of that. And then during this first phase, it's all about emotional building, because you cannot afford to have any logical thinking, because it's always the logical thinking that stops you from like committing to a goal.
Sure.
So in this first phase, all we talk about is how can we create this emotion crazy enough that finally it's going to be your trigger to commit to something. So we give you different exercises that people can go through. And then the second phase I talk about is perseverance, which is actually way more important than the first phase, because this is like 90% of the people give up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So what I wanted to do here is I wanted to give like really practical advices. And it really comes down to mindset management in this space. So we talk a lot about it. And one of the big thing also we talk about is self-awareness, because now we had that like excitement going. But one of the reason a lot of people fail achieving is because once they do something, they kind of realize that that was not what they wanted, right? Like
Right.
lack of self-awareness. And that's completely okay too. That's why my title of the book is The Game of Self-Domination. So if you notice the game part really refers to like you can start over like as much as you need in order for you to like, you know, create this life that you want.
Sure.
But so during the second phase, the first thing we talk about is self-awareness, because it's very important, because things get really hard, and sometimes without the clear head or without the clear purpose of why you're doing what you're doing, it'll just get really hard to persevere.
Yeah.
And then another strong point that we talk about during this second phase is having a high sense of emotional intelligence, because you will, like I said, you will have a lot of emotional experiences, such as having to face failures, having to face rejections, having to face like something hard, right? And those are very emotional experiences. And people could fail in those phases because people get too emotional, like people take these things too personal. So there we talk about like how you can now use logical thinking that we put away in the first phase. And actually it is important, critical that you drive your journey with a little bit of logical sense when it comes to perseverance. And then finally, third phase, we talk about happiness. Like, what is happiness anyways? Like, we've been going through this like journey from 1 to 2, you know, having lots of like perseverance phase and everything like that. But in the end of the day, like, what is happiness? And I guess to summarize how I talk about it is, I talk about like a macro score. I talk about like happiness in the end of the day is not one destination. And that's like all the time, like that's often how people look at success, is once we get there, like that's my happiness and I'll be set for good, right? But in the end of the day, like through this journey, you kind of realize that happiness is like a macro score of the life. Like you have good and bad, right? And but in the end of the day, through that journey, the full package is the happiness. Through that journey, like the full package is what determines the success, the quality of your life. And we go really deep in that perspective in the third phase. But yeah, so that pretty much summarizes the whole book. And I feel like I've been talking a lot. So
no, that's what you're here for. You're here to tell us about what you do and what you have and how you can help people. And so with this book, The Game of Self-Domination, who's your target reader or a target client for a book like that?
So actually, I don't have any target clients or target leader, because anyone can benefit from wanting to grow. I do have people who shouldn't read my book in two groups. One group is someone who doesn't like to be told that like pursuing something unrealistic is good. Like if you are cynical to the point that you just don't believe in that, right? Like you just don't think it's possible, then this book might annoy you because like it'll really pushes you. The second group of people who shouldn't read this book is people who are looking for secret, a success like secret, because this book really talks about mindset and work ethic and like how it's continuous efforts, continuous journey. And I never talk about like this is the secret of all, like the answer to key
There
to
is
that
there is no secret.
have.
There is no secret.
Yeah, there is no secret.
And so I like what you said. I mean, it's all about the journey, not the destination, right? So, you know, people get lost in the idea, like what you said. Once I get here, I'm going to have this. And that's not true, because your growth is continuous. It's a lifelong journey. And you know, you may read that book once and might have to defer back to it again once you like if your goals or your dreams change. So like I'm all about that. Like I think that just to be self-aware that you need to work on that. Your personal development is huge. It's a continuous journey. Hey guys, Deanna here with Label Free Podcast. Summer is coming. Are you a six-pack kind of guy or a dad bod kind of guy? Either way, our friends at Manscaped have the fellas' hairy bodies covered. They just launched their 4th generation performance package, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0. That's right, you heard that right, 4.0. Trim from the leaders in male grooming. So the man in your life can join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code LABELFREE20. That's right, 20% off with free shipping with the code LABELFREE20. So head on over to their website, manscaped.com, and pick up something for yourself, the man in your life, whomever that might want to benefit from keeping everything nice and tight for the summer.
I think one thing that's interesting about my book is that yes, there is no secret, or I don't promote secret by any means, but I did include a lot of stories in a way that people don't think about them, like in a regular life. Like, for example, we would talk about kind of similar concept, but we talked about, the other day I talked about this in my blog post, and it's kind of like similar concept is here and there, like showing up in my book. But for example, everything is man-made. Even the concept of time is man-made, right? And then we don't necessarily talk about that. The truth we have, the true unit of measurement we have in this world from like physics perspective is just the energy, like how much energy we're containing in anything, including people, like everything. Even the time is man-made, and then depending on who experiences the time, there's still subjectivity in the concept of time. And, you know, things like that is something that we don't necessarily realize unless like you have it later, right? So in my book, I guess something that's interesting about my book is I included a lot of stories like that really just challenges people's way of thinking, things that people don't realize unless they like really search or look for.
Or being open to, or finally being open to, because I feel like people that are like you yourself that are putting out books like that, and someone like me that would read books like that, you know, we have more of an open viewpoint on life, and we're open to like to see things a different way, whereas some people need to be challenged to be open. And when they realize that once they open themselves up a little bit, their life can change dramatically by just reading a book like that, and maybe finding that path, that journey to happiness that they've been looking for, you know. And that's why I started this podcast, was to talk to people like you that are, you know, maybe living life on your own terms and promoting that, and talking to people, helping them find that way to get there, because so many people live in a box. You know, society's been telling you, you got to do this, you got to do that. And once you step out of that comfort zone and opening yourself up to that risk, that possibility, what have you, you know, life takes on a whole new form.
Hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. And that's it. Like specifically my intention of the book was to talk about different stories so that somehow I would get to someone's head out of all the stories that I throw at someone, you know what I mean? So I don't expect like every single stories to be like, wow, right? Like to everyone, right? Because people have different realities, people have different perspectives and everything like that. But because how much like the volumes of the story that I have, like I have so many things here. So I think some story out of these all the stories that I have would talk to some people.
So where can people find that book?
Yeah, so the name of the book is called The Game of Self-Domination. You can find it on Amazon. You can also find it from my website, ifapeducationtv.com.
Okay.
And yeah, just type in The Game of Self-Domination, Amazon, and it should come up.
Awesome. And I'll put all those links in the show notes so that people can find it and they want to reach out to you or buy it and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So any last words of wisdom or advice you'd like to leave with the audience before we start wrapping things up?
I feel like I haven't been able to like, I haven't been able to like talk about everything I wanted to talk about in my book because there's like a lot of other essence that I wanted to share today.
Okay.
But I guess I think if I summarize the whole thing, really, my summary goes, what we already said is like, there's no secret. And I think it's attitude problem. It's not the resource problem. And people like tend to, you know, even look like wanting to look for that answer is the attitude problem. Like they assume that it's a resource that they're lacking of, right?
Right.
But I think it's an attitude problem. And once again, coming back to the title of the book, The Game of Self-Domination, I think this concept is very important, is that in life, like, even if you have been wrong, like until now or something, it's no problem at all. Like you can change it anytime. So it's an attitude problem. So having that accountability of like, yes, okay, I made a mistake, but my life is not over. Like I can start over again. But in the meantime, like let's notice that no one's gonna come help you. There's no secret. You are the one who needs to drive your life. So I think that's two very important sense for anyone to anyone should know that would benefit their life in a great way.
Yeah, no, I love that. You know, I actually realized you had some questions here that you would like that you could talk about. So before we say goodbye, I like that you're the second question. What is Ikigai? A Japanese
Ikigai.
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 Okay.
It's a very difficult word, right? Ikigai.
Yeah, it is. A Japanese concept for a reason of being, comparing to happiness according to the ancient Greek philosopher. I like that.
Yeah. So let me share this real quick. I actually talk about this around when I talk about self-awareness in my book as well, of this. So basically the two school of thought, I am talking about the philosophy from Japan and then the Western way of thinking about happiness. They're actually pretty similar, but I wanted to like kind of expand on what they mean. So the reason being, Ikigai promotes this idea of you need to meet circle of like different circles, the center of the different circles. And one circle represents who you are, what you love, what you're good at, and what the world needs.
Okay.
And then basically Ikigai advises you to meet at the center of the circle.
Okay.
And the way I actually look at it is what you love, what you believe. Like you can actually break that concept into what you love, what you believe, and what you do.
Yeah.
And people are happy when like the formula people have in the perceived happiness.
Sure.
Is self-perceived happiness is their blueprint of what their life should look like is meeting with their reality, with their perceived reality, right? That's the formula people use. And when you're what you are, what you believe and what you do meet and then create this like interconnected circle, then your life is likely to be happy. And that's basically what the concept of Ikigai is. And in book, actually, I break it down even farther than that, so you can see like more elements going into each categories. But really, the point is like you want to meet these circle to interconnected. And I guess from the business perspective, if I can add to that, is I actually talk about like you can even diversify. You can even like have a passion, like have something of a passion, and maybe your passion doesn't necessarily match with what you're good at or what you can make money off of, right? From the business perspective, you can have your interest in different buckets, and then and that's gonna be more like a finance planning game, which we also can talk about here. But my perspective is like, in order for you to be practical, you don't have to meet at the center. Maybe perhaps you are the type of person who needs like different things in life in order for you to like be stimulated. Then you can still have the passion project, and you can still have the project that's going to support your life, and so you can mix it up, and then you can like have different ratio attached to it. So that's another way to go. So now let's talk about Western philosophy. The ultimate happiness is virtue activity of the soul. That's what Aristotle said. What does that mean? Essentially, it really comes down to picking your own battle. Like in life, anywhere you go, anything you choose, there's going to be pain. But if the pain, again, the expectation of what kind of pain, what kind of challenge you're taking on in your life journey meets with your expectation of what kind of person you want to become, what kind of things you want to be able to do, then you are happy. And then from the term, the ultimate happiness is virtue activity of the soul. Your virtues are tested anywhere you go. So it's just a matter of choosing your own virtue, like what it is that you want to become. And so in that way, they kind of like synthesize together, like what each concepts are saying are very like similar to each other. So yeah, that's something I talk about.
I love it. Oh my gosh. I think we could talk forever, but we are coming up on time to say goodbye. So you are awesome, Natsune. Domo arigatou gozaimashita.
Thank you very much for having me as well.
It was awesome. I'd love to have you back. I see a second book in your future, so just let me know how I can support you. You are welcome to come back anytime and talk about all this wonderful stuff, because I think it's very important for the world that we live in. But guys, this is your host, Deanna Kemple of Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, follow, all those good things, and I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.